Okay, welcome to our Hebrew study today. We're going to be looking at Jeff Brenner's A Mechanical Translation of the Book of Hebrew. Now, Jeff Brenner runs a very unique website called AncientHebrew.org. And I have found some of his materials to be very, very useful. And so we're going to look down through here and see what kind of information we find. This is actually the first time I've looked at these materials, and I thought I would put it online for people to benefit from. This particular translation is free, so let's get started. A mechanical translation of the book of Genesis. The Hebrew text literally translated word for word. Jeff A. Brenner. A mechanical translation of the book of Genesis, the Hebrew text literally translated word for word, Jeff A. Brenner. Okay, cover design by the author, copyright. Okay, so we're doing this because we are not receiving any money for this. And so the permissions are as follows. Any part of this book may be copied for nonprofit educational purposes only, without prior permission. Table of contents. Okay, so doing a video, we are not receiving any money or support for this. This is simply a free resource in video spoken format for the whole assembly of Israel and those of the mixed multitude outside thereof. So we have the table of contents, acknowledgments, introduction, contents, the project, the translation, the Hebrew language, Hebrew names, the names of God, Hebrew words, Hebrew verbs, Hebrew gender, Hebrew numbers. And then we've got the mechanical translation of Genesis, and you see chapter 1 all the way to chapter 50. And then there's a dictionary of words and names, words, prefixes, suffixes, and conjugations, names, concordance of names, of words and names. We've got words, prefixes, suffixes, and conjugations. And we have name, a verb translation, phrase translations, alternative translations, idioms, pronunciations for transliterated words and names, Appendix F, verse, notes, bibliography, and notes. Okay, so here's his acknowledgement. I'm especially thankful to my wife Denise and my children Josiah, Jeremiah, Jedediah for allowing me the time to dedicate to this project, as well as their continued support. A special thanks goes to Rob Black, Doris Dipple, Marilyn Hunter, Janine M. Irons, and Francis Stoltz for the careful and extensive review, editing, and content suggestions of the manuscript. Without their assistance, this book would not have been the quality that it is. I'd also like to thank the following individuals who assisted with the editing of the manuscript and provided valuable suggestions for content and corrections. Okay, so you can look over those names briefly. All right, so here's the introduction. Have you ever read a translation of the Bible and wanted to know what the original Hebrew behind that translation really said, but didn't know Hebrew? Well, now you can. This translation reveals the Hebrew in a very mechanical and literal way, as never before, allowing you to see the Hebrew text behind the English without knowing the Hebrew. This book will include two translations. The first is the mechanical translation, located in the left column where every Hebrew word, prefix, and suffix is translated exactly the same way every time they occur and in the same order as it is found in the Hebrew text. The second is the revised mechanical translation, located in the right column, which rearranges the words so that they can be understood through standard English grammar. Included with each verse is the Hebrew text, Biblia Hebraica Leningradensia. For those who know or are learning Hebrew, and is located above the MT and RMT. Because the meaning of the Hebrew word cannot be conveyed completely through one or two English words. Each word found in the MT will be included in the dictionary located at the back of this book. This dictionary will more accurately define each word within the context of the ancient Hebrew language and culture. Also included at the back of this book is a concordance, allowing the reader to search for each occurrence of a word within the book of Genesis. Okay, so the project. This book is the beginning of a series of translations of the books of the Bible, which will, for the first time, translate the Hebrew text of the Bible literally into English without inserting a translator's interpretation of the text. The foundation to this translation is the ancient Hebrew lexicon of the Bible, which defines each Hebrew word within the context of its etymological roots and the cultural background behind each word. Okay, all of this is under mechanical translations of Genesis introduction. And carrying on, the MT was created by examining each Hebrew word, which will often include one or more prefixes and suffixes, and translating it into English, for instance. The first word of the Bible is Bereshit. The Hebrew text is read from right to left, while the transliteration in italics is read from left to right. Okay, so in Hebrew, you're going to see this kind of direction here. Okay, so it's right to left. And whereas we might read English left to right, see, that way. So that's the difference there that he's bringing out. Hebrew text is read from right to left, while the transliteration in italics is read from left to right, including the prefix bet, or vet in this case without the dagesh, and the word rashit. Each place the prefix ba is found, or bet, it is translated as in, and every occurrence of the word, or rashit, is translated as summit. Hence, the complete translation of this word would be in summit. Once the MT was completed, work on the RMT began, which translates each verse as accurately as possible to retain the literal meaning of the text, yet allow one who does not know Hebrew sentence structure to be able to read and understand the text. It is not the intention of this book to replace all existing translations and dictionaries, but instead to be a study guide to assist the reader to see the text from its raw Hebraic perspective. This translation may also be used by those learning Hebrew as a tool for identifying words, prefixes, and suffixes, and verb conjugations, as well as Hebrew sentence structures and how to properly translate and interpret the text. Okay, so here's a website accompanying this book is the mechanical translation website, and you can see the website here, Ancient Hebrew. Remember to put that little dash in there, because I tried putting ancienthebrew.org and wouldn't go to the site. You just got to remember that little dash in there. All right, which will update additional information for this book, as well as updates and corrections and the progress of additional volumes. The translation. A word in the MT beginning with an uppercase letter represents a Hebrew word, while a word beginning with a lowercase letter represents a prefix, suffix, or verb tense. As an example, the first word of the Hebrew Bible is in summit, or bereshit, where the word in is a prefix to the word summit. Mechanical translation of Genesis introduction. Some words will be added in the RMT to clarify the text. The most common of these will be the various conjugations of the verb to be, or in brackets here, he's got is, are, was, were, of, a, and, the, or it. The word one or thing is occasionally added to a noun for clarification. For instance, in Bereshit 24:2, the servant of Abraham is called a beard, but it's best translated as a bearded one, meaning an elder. See the dictionary entry for this word. Some verses may be translated more than one way or will have grammatical or textual errors within the Hebrew text. Such verses will be identified by an asterisk behind the verse number, and an explanation for this verse will be found in Appendix F. Okay, so now the Hebrew language. The language of the ancient Hebrews is closely related to their agriculture, cultural, and nomadic lifestyle. Each word must be understood through this culture rather than from our own modern Western Greco-Roman culture. As an example, the Hebrew word mitzvah, okay, right there, mitzvah, is usually translated as a command or commandment. In most other translations, but Hebraically means the directions given to guide one on the journey. Hence, this word will be translated in the MT as direction. Hebraic thought differs from our own process of thinking in that the Hebrews were concrete thinkers in contrast to our own abstract way of thinking. Concrete thought relates all words and concepts and ideas to something that can be sensed by the five senses. For instance, the Hebrew word af is the nose or nostrils, but is the same word for anger, since one who is angry will flare the nostrils. At times, you're going to come across a word in this translation that seems to make absolutely no sense. This is mostly due to the differences between our modern Greco-Roman perspective of thought and the ancient Hebrew perspective of thought. Also, keep in mind that each Hebrew word is translated exactly the same way every time. So there will be instances when the word seems out of context. What you will need to do is study that word and the context which it is used in so that you can better understand its Hebraic meaning. Once this has been done, the word and the verse itself will come to life in ways never before perceived. A good example of this is found in the very first verse of Genesis, where most translations will have, "In the beginning, God created." The Revised Mechanical Translation reads, "In the summit, Elohim fattened." So, let's see. The Hebrew word reshit literally means the head or top of a place or time. What is prominent? The Hebrew word bara literally means to fatten, with the extended idea of filling up. In context, the first chapter of Genesis is about importance of the filling up of the heavens and the earth, not its creation within a span of time, an abstract idea that is foreign from Hebraic thinking. Hebrew words, verbs, nouns, adjectives, etc., are best defined through a visual action. The Hebrew root, we've got ayin, kof, vav, is used for the noun akev, meaning the heel, and the verb akav, meaning to restrain in the sense of grabbing the heel, to hold one back, and the adjective akev, meaning because or since, through the concept of one idea and a sentence on the heel of another idea within the sentence. Okay, so the Hebrew word et. Okay, aleph tab. Translated as at in the MT, is frequently found in the Hebrew text to identify the direct object of a verb by preceding it. Since there's no English equivalent for this grammatical tool, this word will not be translated in the RMT. However, this word is used in the text on occasion to mean with or at. This is my reader's commentary on this. There's an interesting metaphysical understanding of this as well that can be correlated with not only the first chapter and the first few sentences of John, but with the Revelation verse identifying Messiah as the Alpha and Omega, something rejected by the rabbis, but I digress. We'll continue on in the text. Because the original Hebrew text does not include any punctuation, such as periods and quotations, the MT will not include these either. The only exception to this is the use of the comma, which will be used in the RMT to separate phrases where the grammar of the sentence requires a separation as well as at the end of a thought. A combination of Hebrew words, prefixes, and or suffixes are occasionally used to convey one idea. The Hebrew phrase al-ken all kin. Literally means upon so, but is translated in the RMT as therefore. A list of these types of phrases are found in Appendix B. Some Hebrew idioms are found in the Bible. An idiom is a word or phrase used in a sense that is not meant to be taken literally. An example of a Hebrew idiom is the phrase bone of the day, Bereshit 7:13, an idiom meaning noontime. A list of idioms is found in Appendix D. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for now. Mechanical translation of Genesis introduction. We're going to cover Hebrew names next time. This video was also intended to just see how this would format. If it seems to format well in YouTube, then I will endeavor to continue on. Thank you so much for watching. And remember to go to this site here. You can see it up here. There we go. I can just cut that file part out, and you get www.ancient-hebrew.org, and you'll see a lot of these materials. And we hope that everyone was edified with this, and we thank you so much. Shalom, shalom.
Lunch is ready.